Hey, I'm Chris Roth, the professional prospector, and I'm going to talk to you today about Minelab's Gold Monster 1000 and how to set that up for gold. Now, a lot of people ask me about the Gold Monster. It's a great detector. It's very sensitive. It's one of the most sensitive detectors on the market when you're using the small coil. Okay, it comes actually with two coils. This is the smaller one. It comes with a little bit bigger coil. The bigger coil will actually see a little bit more depth and it will cover a little more ground. But on the other hand, it's not quite as sensitive to the tiniest gold. So when I use my Gold Monster, because what I'm usually looking for in my Gold Monster is maximum sensitivity to tiny gold. So that's why I'm normally using that small coil. Now, this is a great machine. And you know, when I talk about how to set up the Gold Monster for gold, it's a pretty simple lesson. I'm going to talk to you about some of the hows and whys and why I do this or that or the other thing and what I've had success with. And hopefully that'll be useful to you in giving you some confidence out in the field with the Gold Monster. Now, honestly, the Gold Monster is one of the most automatic high sensitivity detectors that are out there. When you turn it on, it's just a simple button. Turn it on, it goes through a boot cycle. I'm going to do individual pictures of this to show you close up what the screen looks like. So it has basically only three kinds of settings. It has, well, four if you count the on-off button. It has a gain setting up and down. It has a middle button for discrimination or not discrimination. And then it has a sound button for how loud you want your machine to sound off. You may adjust it if you know you're just using headphones or you want it a little louder because you're not using headphones and maybe there's some wind or something. So really that's just the four settings: on, off, gain, discriminate, not discriminate, and volume. That's really it, okay?
So just take a quick look at these. Here is the on-off button, and press this once and it begins the boot up cycle that turns your machine on. The next setting is your gain adjustment up and down. Now this amplifies or turns down the amount of amplification your machine gives to the signal that comes out of the ground, and increases or decreases sensitivity. Now you might think that, oh, you always want the highest sensitivity. Well, sometimes, in fact completely very frequently, you'll have mineralization in the ground and you'll want to maybe turn down the gain so that you get the best, clearest signal on the gold. I'll talk about this more in just a minute. And this is what the display looks like when it's turned up to the point where the machine will take over the gain setting for you. And if you're a new guy, like I say on the video, this is probably a pretty good idea to start your experience with the machine out using the computer program in the machine that adjusts the gain on your behalf based on what the machine sees as mineralization in the ground. The next button is this button in the middle, which turns the discrimination on or off, the discrimination switch, which you can see there. And then on the display it will indicate either a shallow hole like this or a deeper hole that I'll show you in a second, but the shallow hole indicates that the discrimination has been turned on. There is a significant reduction in sensitivity, and that shows by the shallower hole, with the idea that discrimination off gives you a deeper hole. And then here you can see the deeper hole as showing that the discrimination has been turned off and you're getting the maximum sensitivity. And finally we have the volume adjustment and output display for what your volume setting is. And basically you just adjust this to what your ear needs to hear the signal clearly. The display also shows a battery charge indicator, and as you can see in this picture, my battery is on the low side. Now it comes with a rechargeable battery that can be used again and again, and it also comes with a little holder that you can put AA batteries in if you get in a situation that you can't recharge. So it gives a lot of options. Finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about mineralization adjustment. Now, the Gold Monster 1000 is always in automatic mode. It's always automatically adjusting the mineralization setting in the machine for what the coil sees in the ground. Now, a lot of machines have a manual adjustment for this that you can basically set it to be a fixed ground balance, and then you will adjust it manually as necessary. But with the Gold Monster, like I say, it's designed for maximum ease of use, and so it's always in automatic mode. There is no mode of fixed ground balance and manual adjustment. Anyway, so that's basically an introduction to the settings of the Gold Monster. Now let's take a look at putting the detector together.
The machine goes together really easily. Now I have an aftermarket rod on mine that's collapsible. The ones that come from Minelab are not collapsible. This one, I can shrink it down. If I took off these little cable guides, I could shrink it down even more, but it extends out and it's adjustable. I also have this basically stabilizer for putting it on the ground. Some guys don't like that kind of stuff. I do. Both the extendable cable, or both the extendable rod and the stabilizer for setting it on the ground, I got from Miner John. You can look him up on the internet. He sells accessory parts. So the Gold Monster, really super sensitive detector. The discrimination on it actually works pretty good. It's pretty reliable, but using discrimination is a skill. And a lot of guys who just buy a new detector think, okay, I'm turned on discrimination and it'll beep when there's a good target and it won't beep when there's not. Well, it's way, way, way more complicated than that. I actually did an entire video on using discrimination, and I'm going to put a link to that in the bottom, in the description. Now, most guys, a lot of people who use these will just tell you, dig it all, that's better than discrimination, because if you use discrimination, you're going to miss gold. And well, what I'm going to tell you is, if you use discrimination improperly, yup, guaranteed you're going to miss gold. If you use it the way I tell you to in that video, you might miss a little bit, but not much. So if you're a new prospector and you really don't have the skills of pinpointing well, and you're not used to the discrimination, it's new, and it's something you're getting used to, then I say go with what the other guys say, which is dig it all, okay? While you're learning, dig it all. Once you get really skilled and understand and learn how to use this thing and how to pinpoint targets properly, and you listen to that video that I did on discrimination, then maybe you can try the discrimination out, especially in trashy areas. So the setting that you're going to want, if you're digging it all, there's no point in having it in discrimination mode, because when you're in discrimination, you lose sensitivity. No argument, no question, no debate. If you're in discrimination, you're losing sensitivity. And if you're in discrimination and you're using the big coil, you're losing significant sensitivity, even if you have the gain on max. So if you're digging it all, I recommend putting it on no discrimination, which is, and on this setting, I'll show you close up. The discrimination is the shorter hole, and the not discriminate, it's the deeper hole. What it's telling you by that little pictograph, the deeper hole means greater sensitivity, which is what I just said. So if you're running it and you're going to dig it all, you're just kind of new to this whole thing, run it in no discrimination. You'll get your maximum sensitivity. Yup, you're going to dig some targets that are trash. But that's part of the deal with getting used to metal detecting for gold. You're going to dig trash. The goal is to dig gold, though. So
So if you do want to give the discrimination a try, I think the bar up at the top, the bar graph that goes one way or the other, gives you the best information. And the problem is that this is showing a full-scale readout to the non-ferrous, or what you would get for gold or lead or brass, copper. It doesn't always give you a full-scale readout. A lot of times you get bouncing back and forth, or you get a partial readout. And in this case, you have to consider that the machine is uncertain. And when the machine doesn't know, when the machine isn't fully certain of one way or the other, then that's when you have to dig it all. The machine is telling you, I don't know. That means it could be gold or it could be trash. And this is the other reading where the machine is giving a strong readout showing that it's iron. And believe me, there is lots of rusty old iron junk, from large to small, out in the gold fields that have been previously worked by the old timers. But also, as I said, the machine isn't always as certain what it is as this would indicate. A lot of times you'll get readings bouncing back and forth.
So get out there, listen to those targets. I've got a whole series on successful metal detecting for gold, and I'm going to put a link to that series too in the description for this video. Listen to those things, learn the skills of being a successful prospector. So put it in not discriminate, all right? Then turn the volume up to whatever you need to. The volume is the one on this side. Turn this up to whatever you need to make it, good for you to hear. You don't want to have it scream through the forest, but you want to be able to hear targets and hear the detector and the noises that it makes. And then the only other adjustment that's on this thing is the gain. And it actually has a setting where if you turn the gain up to the maximum, you'll see, I'm going to show you close up, that the inside, the center of this fills in black. When you've got the black center filled in and the gain is turned up all the way, what's happening is the machine will adjust the gain to what it thinks you should have. It actually will self-adjust the gain as to what you think it should have. Now, if you're a new prospector, that's really the setting you want to go. You want to go with the one where it's filled in the center and let the machine adjust for you. When you get a little more experienced, you might turn it to the highest where the center isn't filled in, or some lower setting as necessary depending on how mild or mineralized the ground is. One of the things about metal detecting, especially with a BLF, which is what the gold monster is that it'll make noise on mineralization. And by turning down the gain a little bit, you really don't lose that much sensitivity, and yet you'll get rid of some of that noise. Now, most guys are really afraid to turn down the gain simply because they think, oh, I want maximum sensitivity. But if the machine is going chirp, chirp, beep, 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 chirp, 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 beep, 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 click, 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 burp, 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 one of those might have been a gold target. And because it was making so much noise, your chip, chip, burp, burp, beep, 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 you didn't hear the gold target because it was only one of lots of noise responding from mineralization. You want to run the thing fairly quiet. So turning the gain down to a point where it's not chirping beep, 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 beep on every little thing that it goes by, not just hot rocks, but in a lot of places you can get chirps and beeps just on the ground because the ground has a lot of mineralization. So turn the gain down, or if you're new, turn it all the way up to where the middle fills in, and the machine will back off the gain for you automatically. Now, that's really all there is. Off and on, that's the only other button, and I think you guys can handle off versus on as an adjustment that even a new guy can take care of and handle. So that's really all there is. Setting up the gold monster, one of the things about this is this was made by Minelab for overseas markets, with the guys in mind that didn't have a lot of technical background, that didn't have a lot of background on, equipment, electronics, and that kind of stuff, so that it'd be super simple to use. Well, hey, when you're new and starting out, super simple, that doesn't sound so bad, does it? Sounds pretty good. And the truth is, even if you're an experienced operator like me, you can adjust this thing and run it and take advantage of its sensitivity. It's a great detector. I use mine all the time in applications where I want the detector to be really sensitive to tiny gold. This and the Gold Bug 2 are my choices for that kind of application. So the Minelab Gold Monster, the other thing about it is its price. Of course, it's different priced in different countries, but in the US, a lot of times you can get this for in the ballpark of about $800 US, brand new. And right now, actually, as I'm filming this, there's only a limited number of these that are available from dealers. Probably, though, as the virus thing gets taken care of, there'll be more on the market. But it's a great detector. I highly recommend it. It's in my video on most sensitive detectors. It's one of the ones that I said is definitely in the pretty much in a tie with a lot of other detectors. It runs at a pretty high megahertz speed, which is how fast the detector cycles, and that has to do with its sensitivity. Higher megahertz generally, there's a lot of other factors, but it generally means more sensitivity. So great detector, good choice, super easy to operate. Watch my videos on using discrimination and on general metal detecting for nuggets, how to be successful at nugget finding, and I think that you will find this to be a great choice for a first detector for someone who's interested in buying a metal detector and going out and finding nuggets. Now, finding nuggets, as I say in a lot of my videos, is a skill. Prospecting is a skill, just like being an electrician or a plumber or, a lot of other trade skills. A butcher or whatever. It's what you know and what your experience is. If you want to learn more about finding gold, and one of the things about any metal detector is, the metal detector just beeps if you put it over a nugget. If it doesn't tell you where to go, it doesn't say, oh yeah, hey, go to this place in California or Nevada or Arizona or wherever. It's not a map. It's a metal detector. And so you have to have the skills of finding gold in order to take this metal detector to a place where it can find some gold for you. And in order to increase your skills in finding gold and learning more about finding gold and being a more highly skilled prospector, I wrote a book. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book right now. So let me tell you a little bit more about my book. It's called Fistful of Gold, and I wrote it because I want you to be able to go out and find for yourself fistful of gold. And you can see that it's an encyclopedia with all kinds of information, pictures, and that sort of thing. It's not in color, but color would have cost me a lot more to have printed, and so the book would have cost a lot more. It's for sale on Amazon, and you can pick it up. I'll put a link in the description below. I also serve as the editor for a prospecting magazine. It's ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal. And honestly, you should check that out. We got stories and information, legal stuff, everything you know to increase your skills as a prospector. I write articles in this every month, and a lot of other very experienced prospectors contribute to the magazine as well. So check the magazine out. Also, I have a website, and the website is at NevadaOutbackGems.com. I'll put a link for it in the description below, but there's gobs of information there that you will find useful in your prospecting efforts. Finally, I want to say that I really appreciate your comments and thoughts and even positive criticism. Don't come on there and just toss out insults, because I'll just delete your comments. But if you've got helpful things to say and questions to ask, do write and put those in the comments, because I answer my comments to people, and you'll hear from me in responding to you. So if you've enjoyed this video and you like what you see and you're interested in finding out more, well then sign up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so they'll let you know when I post new videos. And like it and share it if again you see stuff that you really are excited about. And I'll be coming out with lots more new videos, and so we'll see you again real soon.